Hey everybody, this is Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in California. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. Today's class, we are going to be doing this really fun tangle that I created. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it, but we were in New York recently and I saw just tons of patterns all over the city there. And I happened to see on the side of the building this really beautiful border that was encasing a beautiful sun inside of it. So I decided to take the idea and create a tangle. So there you have it. What we're gonna need for this class is we are gonna need our handy dandy Micron PN pens. I'm very partial to these. If you like to work with the 01s or the 05s, you're totally welcome to use those, but I'm partial to the PN. The next thing that you're gonna need is my very favorite white pen. This is the Signo white pen. I just think that it has the best pigmentation out of all the white pens that are out there, so I'm a big fan. So one of these would be great, but if you have a jelly roll, or I think they're called Posca pens, those are great too. So whatever works for you is what will be used. And then what I have is my just regular old golf pencil. Notice no erasers because there are no mistakes in Zentangle, only opportunities, and so we'll see where this leads us. All right. So finally, the last thing that we're gonna need is a white tile. Some of you know that I have my own tiles here. This is called the Genesis tile because this is where it all begins. And you can get these at tangledyogi.com. We are launching our store this weekend, which I'm very excited about. So I hope you will come and check it out and maybe buy some of our wonderful tiles. This tile is a really nice size. It's a little bit larger than the average Zentangle tile. It's 4.5 by 4.5, super smooth cardstock, really, really great for accepting color. So I really enjoy it. So there's that. And then just to give you an idea of this class, we did do it on the rustic tile as well. And you can see the difference between these two. Really fun. I always tell my students, you know, you can never do the same tangle twice. So being able to try it out on a rustic tile was really fun. So you may decide that you want to check out our rustic tiles. Oh, this one's all drawn all over, but you can see that it's a nice tan tile, and I was having lots of fun with color and tangling on the back of it. All right, so there you have it. Let's get started by taking a moment to center ourselves. So find a comfortable position, someplace that you feel relaxed and at ease. Let your feet make connection with the floor. Allow your spine to grow comfortably tall. Let your shoulders melt down away from your ears. And allow the crown of the head to press off towards the ceiling. Take a moment to drop into your breath here. Let's take 3 full breaths right here. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling. And exhaling. Last one right here. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling through the nose. So for the next 3 breaths, I just want you to bring your attention to your nostrils and notice the coolness of the breath as you inhale. And as you exhale through the mouth, feel the heat of the breath in the mouth. Inhaling, feel the coolness in the nose. Exhaling, feeling the heat in the mouth. Last one right here, in through the nose. And exhaling through the mouth. So taking a moment to feel your body here, notice yourself being relaxed and at ease. Feeling your shoulders relaxed away from the ears. the eyebrows unfurrowed, soft forehead, soft jaw. Let your chest be open. Let your belly be relaxed. So that as we practice today, you can come back to this place of being relaxed and at ease when determination shows up. Let's take one more deep breath right here. Exhaling. And let's tangle. So I'm going to take this tile away. We've been looking at it for a little while there. So now I've got my regular white tile in front of me, and I'm going to just start with my pencil here, just the regular Zentangle way. And I'm going to come in a little bit deep from the corners here. I'm going to just make my 4 dots, and you can see that I'm in probably a good 1/2 inch away from the corners here, maybe even an inch, I'm going to say. So once you have that, that's all I'm going to do with my pencil. Can you believe that? I just made my corners, and that is it. So I'm going to switch over to my pen. Dun, dun, dun. And here we go. So I'm just going to do what I call an overdraw, where I just land my pen right where my pencil was. And for this particular tangle, we're going to start a little bit differently. So I'm going to just take this line here, and I'm going to bring it all the way down, but then I'm going to stop about 1/4 inch from this dot. Can you see how I did that? So I'm just going to stop right about there. And once I've got that, you can see I still have my dot. I'm going to do a sand swirl. So I'm going to come a little bit below the dot, and I'm going to come up and over, and then I'm going to aura that line. And you can see I'm still pausing about 1/4 inch away from that dot. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sand swirl again. And once again, I'm pausing before I get to that dot. You can see there's a little bit of space. I'm going to turn my tile counterclockwise. Now I'm going to go again, but this time I'm going to let that line come all the way down and hit. Once that line has come down and hit, we'll start by doing our sand swirl. See if you can let that line connect, almost like it's underneath these 2 lines, but it's connecting with that line. See how that happened? Then I'm going to come around again. Here I go. And see how that's lining up with this line right here? It's a really nice tangle, isn't it? So I'm going to turn my tile once again, counterclockwise, letting the line come all the way down. You can see my lines aren't perfect. We're not looking for perfection here. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my sand swirl. There's one. Here comes my second one. See how that line looks like it could connect all the way right in there? That's what we're looking for here. So I'm going to go ahead to this last part. Here comes my my line first, coming down. Then I'm making my sand swirl, connecting. Last one right here. See how I'm going to line up there and let that come off? And it's connecting right here. Isn't that fun? So you'll notice that that line closed that loop. Now, if you have space in between, you can go ahead and carry those lines all the way over, and that will also finish the loop for you. So that is the first part of the tangle here. And if you need to take a pause just to finish up what we just started, this is a great place to pause. Otherwise, if you're with me and you're ready to continue, we are just going to go right ahead and continue. So I'm going to turn my tile now so that it is on the diamond-like shape. Can everybody see that? That it has a diamond-like quality to it? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my pencil one more time, and I'm going to go from one corner to the opposite corner. So I'm just coming right through here. So really we're creating a string inside of our string. And I'm turning my tile now. And once again, string inside of the string, one corner to the next. So we're going to let go of the pencil. We're going to come back in. And now I'm going to make a dot right in the middle. This is going to be my point of focus here. I'm going to come into this upper corner right here. Can everybody see where I am? I'm right up here in this corner. And we're going to make a fairly large leaf-like shape here. I want you to think of maybe a really fat bay leaf. So I'm going to come out, and then I'm going to rejoin right at the point. I'm going to do the same thing over here, and I'm going to rejoin at the point. See how I did that? I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And I want you to think of that really great tangle bales. This is the same thing as bales. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my tile now, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. So I'd like you to think of this as a fragment of bales. There we go. We're just coming in. Notice how I'm working nice and slow. I'm breathing. My shoulders are relaxed and at ease. And there you have it. That's bales. So we have our point of focus in the center here. And now we're going to do something that I really, really love. Now, if you need to pause for a minute and catch up with us, you're welcome to catch up with us. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue to establish the foundation of our tangle today. So I've been creating these particular pieces that have these swirls that are coming out. And in the Zentangle world, we call this Tranzending, where you can see through a little bit. See how you can see through my lines here? So I'm just going to establish those guys before we come back to our bales here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to drop out of the center and create a curved line. Notice how I crossed those three lines. Just really feeling strong about my line there. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to follow this line up until I feel like my curve wants to jump off. And there it is. I'll turn my tile counterclockwise, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to follow up, make my curve, break the lines, come out, follow up, break my lines, come out, turning my tile clockwise, or rather counterclockwise, follow the curve, come out, one more time, coming out, last one right here, making it happen, follow the line up, curve out, follow the line up, and curve out. So now we have the foundation of our tangle right there, and we're going to go into our bales and create a little bit more depth with bales here. If you need to pause, this is a great place to pause to catch up with us. So I'm going to come in here, and right down in the center here, I want you to see I've got kind of a place where all of these petals are joining, if you will. And what I would like to do is I'd like to create a little bit of interest coming in towards the center. So I'm just going to come in right here. You can see I've got these two little points right here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a diamond shape right in there. Can everybody see that? All I did was the letter A, or half of a triangle, and it created that diamond. So I'm just going to turn my tile, find a point, Make that triangle shape. Now I have the diamond in there. Turning again, find the point, make the triangle shape. Last time right here, find the point, and once again, create that triangle shape. So now we have our center or point of interest inside of the piece. If you need to pause, this is a great place to pause. Otherwise, we're going to continue. So I'm coming up from the top here, or rather from the center here, and I'm going to make a line that comes out, and it's about halfway, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put a little circle right there at the top. I'm turning my tile, coming up, create a little circle, turning, coming up, create a little circle. Last one right here, coming up and creating a little circle right here. We're going to continue now, coming to the edge of our bales here. So what I'm going to do is the same exact thing that I did over here with the triangles. So I'm just going to come down now, find a point, and I'm going to do a V right here at the edge, and I'll turn my tile once again, and you can see I'm about maybe three quarters of the way through this leaf where I'm adding the triangle here. So I'm just doing it right on the tip, laying down the point, and going ahead and making that V. Here comes the last one. All the while turning the tile to make it work for your hand. So you can see now we've got the V in there. And now we're going to connect. So we're going to come from the bottom of the V in towards the center. Bottom of the V in towards the center. Bottom of the V in towards the center. And finally, last one. Now, one of my students had come to me and said, I'd like to do a tangle that has triangles in it. Can you put a tangle in there for me for triangles? And so this one was for Jem, who is in my regular classes here. So I'm going to start right up here in this quadrant right here. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you. And I'm going to come into the space that's about halfway between these two triangles. Can you see that? So I'm just going to drop a dot right there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a triangle here. And then I'm going to aura inside of that triangle, and then I'll aura again inside of that triangle. I'm going to do the same thing from the other side. So I'll just come in. You can see I'm leaving a little space between this triangle and where the other triangle is going to be. I'm making a V-like shape this time. And I'm going to go ahead and aura, and then I'll aura one more time. And it creates a really, really nice shape, I think. Finally in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dot on either side. So you want to make it kind of a nice, robust dot, just like so. And then I'll add a dot right in the center where those two triangles are. I think it creates a really unique motif. If this is a good place for you to take a pause, pause me here. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on trucking. So I'm turning my tile counterclockwise, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to lay down a dot right in the middle of that line. I'll go ahead and I'll make my triangle, and you can see that I'm leaving space between this triangle and that triangle. I'm going to go ahead and aura, and I'll aura one more time, and then I'll do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to do it again. Last one right here. And then I'll go ahead and I'll add my dots. Nice robust dot there. Nice one right here. Once you've done that, we're going to carry on to these other two. So we're going to take a minute, finish up these other two, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so we're back, and I've had a chance to finish up my petals here, and we're going to continue to work now on the petals themselves just for a little bit longer. What we're going to do is we're going to create just a little bit of a heavy line on the outside of these petals right here. See how I'm just kind of coming down from each corner and laying down a little bit heavier of a line. I'm turning my tile as I'm working, keeping my shoulders relaxed, softening through the jaw. So you can see now that I've done all 4 of the petals here, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to puddle. So in the Zentangle world, when you're laying down ink in an area, that means you're puddling. So just a little bit of Zentangle talk for you. I always love those signs that say Zentangle spoken here. Those are always hilarious to me because we really do have our own language and our own names for the tangles here. And you can see that I'm just letting my pen barely scratch the page here, and it's releasing the ink pretty easily. That's a nice tip there, is to just let your pen barely touch the page in order to get the ink to flow. It's the really unique thing about microns, is just how responsive they really are. So you can see I'm going in and I'm puddling in those areas. I'm going to finish all the way around, and I'm going to meet you on the other side. So take this time to go ahead and puddle those in. Okay, so we're back, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a little bit of aura-ing around the petals here. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to come into these last little spots here and just give a little bit of aura. And you can see I'm just sneaking one in there. I might just sneak one in here. You can see I'm just turning my tile and adding just a little bit of an aura on each side of those petals. So no big deal, just a little bit of interest that we're adding around there. And then finally, when we go around the piece itself, we're going to add some dots on the outside as well. So in here, I'm going to add 3. So I'll do 1, 2, 3. And on this side, I think I'm just going to have room for 1. So I'll put 1 in there. I'm going to turn my tile. I'm going to do 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. And then over here you can see I might be able to fit in 2, but just for the sake of uniformity, I'm just going to do 1. I'll go again. 1, 2, 3. And I'll just add 1. And then finally, right over here, 1, 2, and 3. And I'll just add 1. So now we've got a little bit of interest on that outside border as well. So I'd like you to start to think about color, because we're going to start to come into that point on the tangle itself here. On my particular pieces, what I like to tell people is I never tangle the same way twice, and I never color the same way twice. So what I would like for you to do is I'd like you to choose what color are your petals going to be, the dominant color here. You can see the dominant color on mine was blue, and then I used a little bit of brown to be the contrast color. So why don't you think about the color that you're going to use, and we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to figure out the colors that you want to use in this. Just to talk a little bit about color here for a minute, I am partial to the Prismacolor pencils. I don't know if you can read that. Looks like it's kind of lost some of the Prisma, but the color is still there. Haha. Anyway, I do like these pencils. I think they're fabulous. Their pigmentation's really great. I've also been really partial to these. These are called the Ergosofts, and they're, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the name of this company. Stadlitter? I think that's what it's called, but I could be wrong. So I like both of these companies. These are called Ergosoft. They're really nice because they're a triangular pencil and they fit really well in your hand. And I think the colors are really beautiful. A little bit different than the Prismacolors, a little bit softer. So I'm going to be starting with a yellow and an orange. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I want to talk about viscosity of color just for a second. Those of you who have taken class with me before, you know this technique already. So, you know, when you have a color that's very light in body right here, you'll see that I have my light, I have my medium, and my dark. But really the transition between the medium and the dark isn't quite strong enough for when I do my shading. So it's always nice to have a complementary color that's a little bit darker so that you can do some shading. So that's why my orange is present here. But if you have a really pretty turquoise or a blue or a green, now if it was a chartreuse green, you'd want to have a little bit more of an apple green ready to go next to it. So basically you get the gist that you would want to have a complementary color just to give you a little bit of depth. So we're going to come in here and I'm going to lay down the color, and you can see that I'm working my pencil in a slow, steady movement, and it's a circular movement. And I'm just working around the triangles here. I'm not going into these triangles here or these triangles here. So I'm just coming in here and laying down this color, getting it in there. So once I've done that, note that I'm using that nice light tension. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit heavier tension, and you'll start to see it in the piece. I'm just going to blow this up a little bit so that you can see what I'm up to here. So you can see there's a little bit more intensity coming in just around that V. I'm going to put a little bit more intensity around here as well. And I'll go again and put a little bit more intensity here and a little bit more intensity right here. Once I've done that, you can see that it's got a nice glowing factor to it. I'm going to come in with that orange pencil. I always say to people, make sure that your pencils are sharpened pretty well. This is pretty well sharpened for me. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to add that light tension. You can see that that pencil is working in a circular motion. Here's my joke. Slow motion, fast motion, slow motion, fast motion. All right, so I'm just letting that triangle have a bit of a glow to it. And you can see just by doing that, I got a little bit of that intensity to it. So I'm just going in and highlighting that area with a little bit more of that orange, and I'll come over here and I'll do the same thing. Once I've gone all the way around, I'm going to come back in with a little bit more intensity right on the line. Can you see that I'm staying right on the line there? And I'm just giving that a little bit of extra glow. So just staying right on the line, a little bit of extra glow there. Really makes for an intriguing color and really great shading. So I'm going to go through all the way around and do those all the way around, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so I'm back, and you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around the piece here. It's really getting a nice glowy quality to it. I'm pretty happy with it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to work with the outer edge here. And we're going to stay with the same color palette in the outer edge. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take now that yellow that I have in here and I'm going to let it go around the outer edge. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to come in and I'll start to use that yellow. And I'm filling up this area in here. And I'll come over here as well. Do the same thing. And then that line is going to carry through. So I'm just going to come around and just turn my tile so that it's easier for my hand to work here. So once I've laid down that color, you get the basic idea of where I'm going with this. I'm only going to do half of it so that we save time on the video here for you. So you can see I've done this side and this side. Now I'm going to come in with that orange and I'm going to create a shadow for this particular part of the transcending. So I'm just going to come in here with that orange and I'm just going to lay a little bit of it down on either side. Just like so. And then I'll come in a little bit with heavier tension now and just give that a little bit more depth. I'll come over here and do the same thing. Giving that line a little bit of intensity right there. And I'll turn my tile and I'll do the same thing over here, getting a little bit more intensity right here. So if you'd like to join me on that, go ahead and finish up the rest of it, and I'll meet you on the other side. Don't forget to breathe, relax, and enjoy this part. The coloring is just so relaxing. Let yourself be soothed by the saturation of the color. I'll see you in a minute. All right, so you see that I've had an opportunity to go all the way around. One of the things that I neglected to talk about was you can see that there's this area right here in our sand swirl where this line comes through. I'm just adding a little bit of shading right in there as well. So in the corners there, you might want to add a little bit of that shading. And I've had an opportunity to go around a little bit and do that. So if you want to take a pause and finish up that part, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to move forward here. And it's coming along quite nicely, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my colors now. I'm looking for a contrasting color. I'm feeling a little spicy today. Normally I work with blues and purples and greens, but today I've got a little, I don't know, some spiciness to me, so I'm feeling reds and oranges today. So I'm going to use a red inside of my triangles here. And what I'll do is I'll come in and I'm using a nice light tension on my triangles. So I'm really starting with that lightest tension first on that first particular triangle at the top. And then on the second one, I'm going to come in a little bit deeper with that color. And then finally, I'm going to go with my deepest red right in here. So it's a nice progression of light, medium, and dark, which I think works really well together inside of the triangle. So if you can, go ahead and grab a color that's got a nice viscosity to it, something that's going to have a little bit of oomph, and then start with your light first. Once you have your light down, really think about it as that you're just barely touching the page with your pencil. Then we're going to medium tension. And then I'm going to my darkest tension, really giving that a nice press. And it just gives it a really lovely pop. I will be doing the same thing now in this corner and in this corner. So I'm coming in here and I'm laying down a really nice light tension. And then once I've got that nice light tension in there, I'm gonna go ahead with medium tension right at the bottom of the V here. You can see that my pencil's working in that slow particular movement here I'm gonna show you. So I'm working in a nice circular movement there, and then I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. See how that gives it a nice smoky progression? And then finally I'm gonna go in with that heavy tension. Notice how the pigmentation has started to lay itself down there a little bit more. Don't be afraid to get into the contrast. That seems to be one of the things that my students are the most afraid of, is really getting that nice deep color. But look at how that glows. It's really lovely. So I'll do the same thing right in here. I'm laying down that nice light tension. Once I've got that nice light tension coming in from the bottom, working up that medium tension, almost like it's glowing from the center. And then I'll go in with that heavy, heavy tension right there. Doesn't that look so nice? Really just gives it a pop. So I'm gonna have you go around to the next 3 on your own, and I'll meet up with you on the other side. See you in a minute. Don't forget to breathe. So you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around, and it's really starting to come together. I'm really enjoying the vividness of this tangle. It's really quite beautiful. So hopefully you've had a chance to go all the way through here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to carry this very color out into the border as well. So a lot of you know, as my students, that I love to carry my colors over and over and over again in a piece. I think it's really interesting for the eye here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start in here in the outside border, or rather on the inside of the border. And you can see I'm moving that pencil around in a nice circular-like motion, getting a nice smoky feel with that pencil here. Laying in that color with that nice light tension. I'm not coming into the place where I'm going to transcend yet. That's going to be our next step. So I'm just going in through the border, and like what we did on the other side, oh, and you can see on this side I missed that side of the shadow. See that? Every once in a while on a Zentangle I'll find a place where I missed a spot. So I'm coming back in with that red color. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay down that medium tension just to start the shadow, and then I'll give it a little bit of heavier tension right around either side. And then finally I'm going to do the heavier tension right in here. So that really gives it a nice glow. And then I'll come in right here where the sand swirl is. And I'll add a little bit more depth right there. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to have you continue that all the way around, and I'll meet you on the other side. Okay, so we're back, and I've had a chance to look at this and really enjoy how it's coming to life here. And one of the things that I've decided to do in my Transcending is I've decided to switch gears and start to go with something that's a little bit more soft in nature, something that's going to cool down the piece a little bit and also give a sharp contrast to everything that I've been doing in here. So I've got these really bright, vivid colors, and now I'm going to go with a little bit more of a cooler color. So I'm going to come in here with my blue, and I'm just going to start to lay down that color right into the transcending area here. And you can see that my pencil's working in that nice circular motion. I'm working with the lightest tension. And notice how far back I am on my pencil. I'm not up here, I'm back here. It really helps to open it up and keep you from being all stiff inside of your body while you're working. So really getting back on your pencil and letting yourself not be so worried about being perfect. If we wanted perfection, we could go to Target and buy a shower curtain, but we're creating art here, so we're gonna be okay with being imperfect. So you can see that I've started to lay down that color. Now, you'll notice that that blue is a really pale blue. And like I said before, if you have a color that doesn't have a heavy body, you'll want to pick up a complementary color that does have a little bit heavier body. So I've got this really nice complementary blue that I'm going to use with this light blue. So I'm going to let this light blue go just for a minute. And I'm going to come right into the center here, and I'm going to notice once again, I'm back on my pencil, so I'm not here, I'm back here. And I'm just going to start to lay down that color now in a really nice soft way. I'm using the light tension, and I would say that I'm going about halfway out on that stream there. So I'm just coming about halfway out, using that smoky circular motion with the pencil, starting to get a little bit of definition in the color here. Once I've done that, I'm going to come right back into the center here, and I'm going to start to lay down that color just a little bit heavier. Can everybody see how that's starting to change? It's starting to get a little bit deeper with that heavier tension, and it's adding depth to the composition. It's giving movement, it's throwing your eye around and letting you look at the piece in a completely different way. And I'm coming about 3/4 of the way up of that medium tension. So remember how I was coming out here just with that medium tension. Now I'm coming about 3/4 of the way in, and I've got that nice heavier tension. And I may even go back with a little bit more tension here, just along the edge of these petals. And I'll start to fade up a little bit. Isn't that lovely? It just went shazam. The whole thing just kind of lit up, which was really beautiful. And I love seeing how vivid that color can be. So here we are. I'm just finishing up on these outer edges in here, and I may fade out just a little bit more into that lighter color just to give it a little bit of extra vividness. So once you have that, we're going to carry that all the way through into our other transcendings. So go ahead and go around to all of these guys over here and finish up those, and I will meet you on the other side. Remember to keep your shoulders soft, soften in your eyebrows if you have a tendency to furrow in your eyebrow, and let your breath really just flow. I'll see you in a minute. So I've had a chance to go all the way around in my piece, and one of the things that I wanted to talk about here was the idea of blending color, or making color have a little less separation in a piece. So when you have these two colors that you've been working with, the darker color and the lighter color, inside of the blue, one of the things that I like to do is I like to go back in with my lighter color, and I like to blend a little bit with it. So I'll come in here, and you can see there's kind of a little bit of line of demarcation between this blue and then the light here. So I'm just gonna come in with that light blue, and with my lightest tension, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start to blend those two together, and you'll start to see a softening of the colors here. You can still see that I'm working in that circular-like motion. And then I'll start to fade out as I get closer to the area that's light. Everybody see that? Just gives it a much more blended feeling. So if you desire to go around and do that in all of the pieces in here, you're welcome to do that. I had a little bit of a chance to do that before, but I thought I'd make mention of it while we were together in the video. So here's another place where you can see there's a little bit of a line of demarcation. And I'm just going to come in and start to lightly blend that area in. You can see I'm even going into the dark and starting to blend that in as well. So there is that. So if you need to take a pause here, you're welcome to take a pause. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on. So one of the things that I do in a lot of my pieces is a technique that one of my students coined as wallpaper. Wallpaper is where you have a color that you've been working with and you take that very same color and you tangle with it within that color. So in this particular instance, I have this really nice dark blue, and I'm going to use that dark blue to tangle with inside of this piece. So here's a tip for you. Make sure, and literally, sorry to be punny about it, make sure that you have a sharpened tip. Because if you have a flat tip, your wallpaper won't come out as nicely. So make sure that you have a nice sharp tip for wallpaper. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use Printemps or Printemps, however you like to call that tangle, and it is just a spiral. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blow this up for you so you can really see what I'm up to. So here we go. I'm going to start just by making a dot, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm doing my Printemps. I'm using about a medium tension because this pencil has a lot of pigmentation in it. Notice how big that Printemps is. It's large. And I'm just going to echo it out here in this area. And then I'm going to start to do some other large Printemps. The reason why I like to do larger ones first is then I can squeeze the baby ones in there later. If you only do one size, I find that it isn't very interesting to the eye. The eye gets bored. So when you vary up your size, it makes it much more interesting. So here comes a medium size one. And now I could squeeze a little baby one in right there. And isn't that so interesting? It looks like it's sitting underneath it. I'll come in over here and I'll do another medium one. And this one I'm giving a little bit heavier attention to just because it's in a darker area. And then I could squeeze in a little baby one right in there. So really, if there's a tip that you get about wallpaper here, it's that you vary up the size of your tangle that you are doing. See how interesting that looks? So that when I pull back, it really has this unique feel about it. So I'm going to go all the way around into those and do that very same thing. I'll see you in a minute. So you can see that I've had the opportunity to go all the way around this piece. I'll blow it up just so that you can really get a good look at it. And threw in that wallpaper, and it really started to make quite an interesting piece here. So what I want to talk about with Transcending is a lot of the time I like to use my white pen with Transcending. I find that it gives a glowing appeal to it. You can see I used a little bit of white line here, and I also used a little bit of a white line in here as well. So I'm going to come into the blue here, and I want to state this for the record. The Uniball is a little bit testy of a pen, so sometimes it doesn't want to go over the wax. Pressing down hard on the Uniball does not work. You want to go as light as you can with it. So I'm just going to come in here right where my darkest color is, and I'm just going to start to lay down that white with the Uniball. I'm very, very lightly touching the paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 dots just up at the top here, just like that. So I'll turn my page. I'm going along the curve here. See where I am on this line? And I'm just going to barely touch the page with that pen. And I'm just starting to lay down the color. If you ever had trouble with your Uniball, just go and take a colored piece of paper. Sometimes I'll use like an old tile, and I'll just run my pen along it just to get it going. So I'm turning my tile again, coming along this edge right here, laying down that nice white ink. Then adding the 2 or 3 dots. And you can see already how much that is doing for the piece. Something so simple can really add so much. It's just the element of magic, right? Just a little bit of that extra spice, or that secret ingredient, like, vanilla when you're cooking or making pancakes, adding that secret ingredient that just really makes it uber tasty and good. I think that's what these white Signo Uniball pens are for. They just add that pizzazz. So I'm also going to come into the area where there's a little bit of red in here, and I'll use a little bit of the Signo in here. So I'm just going to come in, and you can see it's fighting me a little bit. I'm going to get that in there, and then I'll add a couple of dots over here. So I'll just turn my tile, and I'll come in, add a couple of dots, turning my tile, coming in, add my dots, turning the tile, coming back in, and adding the dots. And that just makes it a little bit more interesting and gives it a little bit of an incandescent feel to it. If you really felt like it, you could also come into this area right here. It might not show as much because I have the yellow area there, but if you have a darker color, it might be a fun place to put it, just to add a little bit of spark. So I'm just going around and adding a little bit to it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, just adding a little bit of interest to it. So feel free to play around with that pen and have a good time with it. And we are going to move on to a little bit of shading on the outside of the piece. So if you need to pause me here, this is a great place to do it. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep on moving forward. So what I'd like to talk about here is, I'm going to just zoom out a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to shade around the exterior of our tangle here, just to give it a little bit of depth. And you can see that I have my graphite pencil here. Now, if you are left-handed like me and you have ended up wearing your graphite in the past, I encourage you to look into these really great Prisma pencils. This is the cool gray, and I believe it's the 70% cool gray. This is a really great substitute if you're left-handed and you tend to wear the graphite on your hand. You could always use your Prisma gray pencil. But I'll just do it in graphite today, just for the sake of making sure that everybody can join us on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm using the lightest tension possible for my pencil here, and I'm working in a circular-like motion. And I'm just coming around the edge of the piece, but I'm not going all the way around. I've got that nice feeling to it. Now, if you feel like you want to blend it a little bit, you could take your finger, or you could take your little stub or your torchon and run it along that if you like. I just used my finger for that because it's not a real heavy shadow that we're going to be doing here. It's just enough to feel like it's got a little bit of lift. And you can see I'm only going about halfway around the curve here. So I'll just come in there and blend it up a little bit with my finger. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a little bit more depth with that pencil. So you can see that I'm adding a little bit more tension. Getting that in there, and then I'll give it a little bit of a blend with my hand. And I'll do it again, right over here. Creating a little bit of shadow there. It's a really nice feeling. It gives it a little bit of glow. So I'm just going to continue to move along the outside of this piece here, working that pencil in a nice circular motion. And I'll just come around about halfway, giving a little bit of depth, and then I'll give it a little bit of a blend. And then going a little bit deeper with that color. So here I go, a little bit deeper with that graphite pencil, giving it a little bit of rub. And I don't have to worry about it going into my color pencils because the wax resists the graphite. So I don't have to worry about making a mess there because it's not going to get into my color very much. So you can see that that starts to give it kind of a lift off of the page, as it were. So I'm going to go all the way around and do that, and I'll meet you on the other side. So you can see I've had a chance to go all the way around and give that a little bit of a blend, and it really starts to make the tangle kind of pop off the page, which I really enjoy. The final part for the graphite is going to come in around here where we put in some of those stripes for our petals. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in very lightly in here, and then I might do one that's a little bit darker right behind it so that it gets a little bit of a stripe. So you can see that I'm just going in nice and light on one and then nice and dark next to the Transcending. So I'll just go all the way around and do that here, just kind of giving that its stripe. And you can see here I've got 3, so I might make that middle one light and then this last one dark, and maybe make this one the lightest that I can. So I'll come around and play with these a little bit and have some fun, and I'll meet you on the other side. So we've had a chance to go all the way around with this piece, and the last element to this is to add our chop. Now, your chop is your initial or anything that works for you. Some people use like a heart or a symbol, whatever is your thing is how you sign it. Now, some people don't like to put their name on the front, and that's totally fine as well. I always like to put mine in there, so I'm just gonna go in right over here in an inconspicuous place and add my initial here. So that lets me know that I was consciously finishing up the meditation of Zentangle today. So I really hope you've enjoyed this piece of having the Tranzending with the wallpaper, which was really fun, and that really fun Zentangle on the outside. That was a really neat concept, and if I'm able to post that in a couple of weeks, the picture that goes along with it, I absolutely will. If you liked the video today, will you please leave me a review or give me a thumbs up, because I'm trying to make my online presence a little bit more pronounced. And you can also follow me at Tangled Yogi, or you can go to my website, tangledyogi.com. You can continue on here on YouTube, following Tangled Yogi 333. There's lots more videos to try. I'm on Facebook and Instagram also as Tangled Yogi. So this was a really fun one, and as you can see, they were all really different. Really fun to try in the more muted colors, and then to work it a little bit more in a vivid way. So until we tangle again, I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Have a great day.